Oh, welcome to the Greater Wealth here on Edge Radio Australia. What a room full of absolute legends we have here, and Travis Carter. So, look, it's great to be here. Really looking forward to getting into it. I will run around the room here. We even have a studio guest off camera as well, which we may have a chat later on. Who knows? Who knows where we're going to go from there? But let's get the show started. Let's talk to a man who haven't seen in the flesh for over a year, mate. It's been...
There's a lot of flesh for you to see.
We're about to see some more from what I hear.
I'll tell you right now. He's going to start plating his chest here. It's going to get very frightening indeed. Great to see you, Shak, mate. Fantastic to see you.
Thanks for having me back.
Mate, it's always.
Hey, Shak, when you get your chest hairs out, we got something to brush them with too.
Oh, look at that.
There's me brush. I was wondering what happened to that.
There we go.
I pinched that off Everett.
Can we get that image out of my head, please? It's just,
Just be glad it's the chest hairs and not different types of hair.
Oh, dear. Yeah, this show is, it brings the great combination of bringing politics and finances together, and, of course, hair care and very, very questionable grooming.
It's funny because, like, you don't have to worry about the hair care.
I do, actually.
The web of lies. Come on, take the hat off, show us all.
No, it's all
Don't
good.
blind us.
No, that's exactly the problem. The reflection ruins the entire shot. Now, here we go. Going around the room, I did actually mention before, of course, Travis Carter, but the man, the myth, the legend right here, who is the man with a laptop, let's face it. So he looks very official. But the man behind Blue Sky Factory, and a big part of the reason why we're all here, because he brings such brilliant financial information, and education, I guess, which is a big thing. Derek Whitaker.
Hi, thank you. We had a great seminar the other night. It was down in Belmont. And,
right.
Travis and Luan were there. That was fantastic. Sitting on the front row.
I did cancel the last one I was supposed to go to, so I thought obligated I had to go to this one.
So it was great having them there and a whole bunch of other crowd. We had a lot of fun. And if you missed it, that's okay. This Thursday night, I'm doing it online. Okay. So people over East can join us as well. So
fantastic.
Now, Derek, where do we get the link for that? Is it Blue Sky Factory or
on Eventbrite? I'd have to shoot it through to you.
Oh, very complicated. We'll get on to that. I was
going to put it into the chat. So
let's put it in the chat now. I'll send it to you now.
Now, I want to thank Taz for being on board. Of course, it was fantastic to have an awesome little lunch there the other day. Yep. Very, very cool indeed.
We gate crashed a house for a few quiet cups of tea and coffee.
Mm-hmm. Yes, nice. We with our fingers up like this when we're having a cup of tea. We're very refined gentlemen.
Yeah,
I am. Yes. You're the ones that rocked up late. I rock up from the other side of the bloody world.
Oh,
and knock on their door and be like, g'day.
You don't know me, but you may remember me from such.
That's how we met, Shak.
Actually, it is. No, that actually is too.
And you know what's really funny is how we met as well. We were just waiting for the black Indian dude to come down from the elevator.
Ours was slightly different, but like with Derek, because I didn't know what Derek looked like, and the bloke that introduced us didn't show up, and I'm like, well, what are you, like, how far away? And he goes, I might be, a few hours. I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do here? Just like knock on the door. He's like, yeah, just go in. So I knocked on the door and looked at Derek, and I was like, g'day, I'm Shaquille.
And both of us sit there for 3 hours wondering where our common friend was going. This is awkward.
Yeah. But we ended up well, we did actually end up spending 16 hours together, which I have to say is more than time on the first date that I spent with any girl I've ever been with.
I agree with that.
Brilliant.
I'm going to actually roll something in as well. Something was said, you said, Travis mentioned the fact that about waiting for you to come down the elevator. I immediately had an image of you coming down an escalator, Trump-like. Okay, yeah. It's just delivering yourself to the world. Okay, we're getting the feeds
on the top floor of the hotel, so it'd be a bloody long escalator ride.
That's right. It would be. All right. Well, enough of us catching up with friends. Let's get into the show because I reckon there might be a subject about today.
This is a big week as far as international relationships are concerned with the United States because the tariffs kick off Trump tariff policy, and immediately 3 countries are affected by that. We're going to have a look at the implications for them and their kind of pushback in relation to that as well. But first, before we do that, let's have a look at what his policy actually was. We've got a slide of this and what he's been. Do we call it trumping on True Social or truthing? It's more truthing, isn't it?
Yeah, I do like trumping though. That's pretty good.
Is he
blowing your own trumpet
as well? Like, is he dual broadcasting onto Twitter and True Social?
He is, and it's hard to keep track of which one he's saying what on. But you usually can see on the bottom of the slide if he's retruthed it, That's it. That don't call it a retweet. It's a retweet.
We're inventing verbs and things here now, aren't we?
That's how you
Democrats
share.
have been inventing genders, so we must all invent some verbs.
Oh, so true. Hey, great to see the messages coming through. Really fantastic. G'day to everybody there. G'day, Mark. Fantastic to see Glenn as well. And as I said, we've said hi to Taz, who was just wonderful. And we did name her a resident lefty, but I don't know. Well, I don't know.
No, I think I turned her into a Republican.
I'll tell you right now. I think she's far deeper than a lefty, that's for sure. All right, are we ready with the video, mate?
I'm
it's
trying to
actually a
get
slide.
this link for Derek so
Okay.
everyone can join him at his event.
Well,
so
let's-
that's just hit the chat there. I
Okay.
know it's a long one.
All right, we'll throw that up. There we go.
Yes. So like I said, it's a
People can't do anything with that.
Yeah, it's big.
it's Eventbrite. They do stupid shit. What I'll do, I'll go while we're watching the other things. I'll go and
Well, there'll be plenty of time for you.
Shrink
Let's have a look
yes.
at what Trumpy has said.
here we go, Mr. Trump.
Okay. As you can see here, this is a big comment as far as what is going on in terms of the tariff. He calls them the tariff lobby now,
Right.
headed by the globalists and always wrong Wall Street Journal is working hard to justify countries like Canada, Mexico, China, and too many others to name contribute to decades-long rip-off of America, both in regard to trade, crime, and poisonous drugs that are allowed to so freely flow into America. Those days are over. In caps. The USA has major deficits with Canada, Mexico, and China, and almost all countries owes $36 trillion, and we're not going to be the stupid country any longer. Make your product in the USA, and there are no tariffs. Why should the United States lose trillions of dollars in subsidizing other countries, and why should those other countries pay a small fraction of the cost of what USA citizens pay for drugs and pharmaceuticals, as an example? This will be the golden age of America. Will there be
pain?
Okay, sorry. Will there be some pain? Yes, maybe, and maybe not. But we will make America great again, and it will be all worth the price that must be paid. We're a country that's now being run with common sense, and the results will be spectacular.
Oh, speaking of spectacular, the fact that you can see that screen and read it from there, that's spectacular in itself. Well done, mate. Well done. Look, Trumpy is amazing. What can you say? As a guy many years ago, I couldn't actually stand. I was. When
I
he
hate
first-
to say,
oh,
I
yeah.
still can't stand him.
Oh no, I don't know. Now
Yeah.
I think I'd hang with him.
What's
I
your
do.
bloody
No.
beef with him? What's wrong?
2015, around there, I believed the hype. Right? Okay. I did.
You worked in media. How can you believe they're hype?
That's because all the honest people who work in media told me that's what I should think. You see, that's
Right.
right.
No,
Right.
I just don't like his personality. Like, I love what he's doing. Don't get
Yeah.
me wrong. I think he's an amazing president. I'd love for him to be the Australian president.
Mhm.
But if I had to pick like someone to go have dinner with,
Sure.
I'd pick people like Eric Clapton first. Just Trump's not anywhere near my
Yeah,
top
but
100.
I
Michael
get
Jordan, like absolutely, I'd pick Jordan over Trump.
Judge him on
what's
his-
the problem with Trump's personality? That you,
It's probably his eyebrows or something. Like there's no basis for it. It's just, you know how sometimes you meet someone and you just don't click with them. Trump's
Right.
that for me.
All right.
Like there's
Hello-
absolutely no basis
Hello
for it.
to is it a
The truffle shuffle.
There we go. That's very cool. Let's go and talk about this. Now, this is quite a comment, right? Okay,
Mhm.
that's quite a comment. Quite something.
What,
There's a
the
lot.
truffle shuffle?
Yeah, that is.
Yeah.
Say that 10 times quickly. But okay, Derek, what are your thoughts about like so much? There's so much to unpack. But okay, essentially, I know there's going to be a bit of pain for the US. I reckon there'll be a flow on a bit of pain for Australia as well.
We'll get to that.
Okay.
We'll look at the Australian fears at the end there,
Okay.
because this is huge. I want to get through it by country,
Let's
if we
do it.
could. Let's have a look at Mexico's first response to this. So let's go
Mhm.
south of the border. Now, you got to remember, where have all these illegals been entering the United States?
Yeah, sure.
Mexico. So, I mean, their pushback, they put out, and you have to go through the translations of what they're tweeting on X and all this sort of stuff, if we still call it tweeting. But they basically blame the thing back at the US, saying you've allowed high-powered weapons to come into criminal groups in our borders. Right?
Right.
That they've hit back with that. They've said that in 4 months, our government has seized more than 40 tons of drugs, including 20 million doses of fentanyl. It also arrested more than 10,000 people linked to these groups. The US government, if they want to address this or fentanyl, they've got to do this internally and address it internally. You've got a drug problem, this sort of thing. They could start a massive campaign to prevent the consumption of these drugs and take care of young people, as we've done in Mexico. They go on about that. Mexico, and then they put this in: we don't want confrontation.
No,
We
of
start
course
from
not.
collaboration between neighboring countries. Mexico not only does it not want fentanyl to reach the US, but anywhere. Therefore, if the US wants to combat criminal groups that traffic drugs and generate violence, we must work together in integrated manner. So they've kind of pushed back with just words.
Right.
And I really don't think it's going to go very well for them in that respect. Because, I mean, you've got to take responsibility.
Mhm.
What have you been doing with your border for how many years?
Well, actually, this kind of goes back to what we we're just saying about Trump. Okay, I don't particularly like a lot of his words, but I love his actions, and I very much judge him on his actions. And where are the actions here coming from the Mexicans? Why are they not actually taking action to stop and to slow down the movement through the border?
There's an awful lot of bullshit there too, to be honest. Because
There always is.
Because what's this? Oh, we just want to have a collaborative relationship. Like what? What a grand idea! I wonder if that's been tried before. What are you talking about? You know, personally, as you all know, I think that the drug should just be legalized. Right, that would solve the issue immediately.
Fentanyl. You
No.
kidding?
No.
So dangerous.
Since Reagan went on the war on drugs,
Yeah.
what's happened? Has drugs gone down? Drug use gone down?
No.
What you've done is you've now made it so that the criminals can make a profit out of it,
But you've also got
right? That all that money gets used to manipulate and lobby government to
Spot on.
to
It's money
bribe
laundering to
politicians.
buy
Yeah.
arms and
So
Nicaragua
just
and the whole bit.
legalize the bloody thing then.
But the problem is
far
that you've got the
safer.
social dynamics, Shaq. You've got the people just smoking it left, right, and center. Very highly addictive substances, which
Uh-huh.
often lead to harder drugs
Well,
later.
what's harder than fentanyl? But why doesn't that happen in Amsterdam then? But just leave that aside for a minute. If the claim for Mexico is that they haven't worked with America, you didn't have a collaborative relationship, America's been going down there and to other countries in South America for decades. So
Agreed.
like something has to be done. Now, I do think, yes, there is some argument there that this is the US's problem. It's an internal domestic issue. They should deal with it. But on the same token, a lot of this stuff is coming through the southern border.
Yeah.
So it's absolutely fair and reasonable to say you guys need to fix it.
I agree.
Like
Look,
he did
both-
with the migrants, right? As soon as he said, if you guys don't sort this out, I'm going to shut the border and I'm going to put tariffs on all the rest of it. All of a sudden, the migrant caravans just disappeared, right?
Yeah.
So
No,
So,
understandable.
Just quickly going back to Shaq's point with the drugs as well.
Mm.
If you have a look at things like MDMA, they're amazing antidepressants. It's all the stuff that the legal criminals try and like space it out as much as possible.
Sure.
It's all the stuff they're adding, like the glass powder, the rat poison, all that actually causes a lot of the problems. MDMA is not that bad of a drug. It's actually very, very beneficial if used in the correct way.
well, even if we
So-
talk about fentanyl for a minute, there's some argument that the major cause of it. I don't want the conversation to steer towards
No.
this, but there's some argument there that people go into hospital, they get given very hardcore painkillers, right?
Mhm.
And then the doctors are told that they can't prescribe them anymore. So the patient's then left addicted
Correct.
with nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Well, what are they supposed to do? So then they go and try to get it on the street. So they get dirtier drugs. Then they get more addicted.
Mhm.
And then they start hitting things like fentanyl. So if you legalized it
Sure.
and monitored it and had proper medical professionals, if such a thing exists, then perhaps you would actually solve this issue. And it's worth noting that we've had drugs legalized.
Mm.
We used to give cocaine tooth drops and heroin
Oh, of
tooth
course.
drops to little toddlers.
Well, what was Coca-Cola
Right.
made out
Yeah,
of?
exactly.
So I don't think it's going to be as bad an issue, but that's irrelevant.
But what-
People can make their own decision on that.
Okay.
The issue is what should the United States do to Mexico? Yeah, tariff them.
This is the interesting part too, in terms of the percentage of the tariff. So for Mexico, it's 25%. For Canada, it's 25%. And for China, it's 10%.
Yes.
So this is a very interesting kind of statement. He's obviously trying to attack their back pocket and saying, hey,
Of course.
I'm going to hit you where it hurts
Yep.
in finances. Maybe that will get you taking action. That's what I really see
That's
going
exactly
on.
what it is. Yeah, and look, okay, am I right to guess that, okay, if they actually toe the line, do the right thing, that the US will drop the tariff down to 10%?
Well, as they're saying, they're pleading, let's negotiate. And I think that's exactly what he wants.
Well, if they toe the line, there's your negotiation right there.
Yeah.
So here's a question for you. If China's only got 10% tariff, does that mean that China is likely to hand over the Panama Canal?
But the bigger question would be, why doesn't China like buy the goods from Canada,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
And then sell them, because then they've only got 10% tariff and
Oh,
Canada's got
15%
25%.
markup.
So you get around the
Oh, jeez. Yeah. Mr. Free Enterprise right here. There's always an angle. I like that.
Oh, we've got
What
a
are your comments
truffle
coming
shuffle.
Let's
that's
bring
a
some of these
message and a
comments up.
half.
Let's have a look.
All right, so my eyes are terrible, so let's make it big. Trumpy is applying pressure on real issues. WW Trump vows to cut off funding to South Africa until an investigation into the alleged mistreatment of certain classes incomplete. Hashtag South African.
Well, let's not tiptoe around it by saying certain classes.
We don't tiptoe
White
around
South-
anything.
white
Look, we got
people-
two fat Indians right here. So
White people in South Africa are being brutally
It's
oppressed from what we're
disgusting.
seeing in the
Yep.
media. And the West sits there and goes, oh, well, Black Lives Matter. Look, terrible history, the terrible things that have happened in South Africa, but taking it out on some white kid who's got nothing to do with it. From what I'm saying, I haven't been in South Africa, but it does sound pretty bloody bad.
Really
and last
does.
time I was in Dubai, I saw a whole heap of white South African kids that had rushed out of South Africa to try to start life somewhere else because they've got no opportunities.
Well,
there.
Australia had an opportunity to help that out, get a lot of white South African farmers into the country when a lot of our country towns are really, really struggling. But instead, we passed up the ability to get some really good skilled migrants, and instead New Zealand picked them up. So well done, New Zealand. So
There you go.
Australian government seriously dropped the ball on that one.
All right, I'm going to hand pass over to Derek because he's got the computer.
This issue is really, really dangerous for both Canada and, of course, Mexico, because the biggest buyer, the biggest country that imports their goods is the United States. So they are on the back foot here. Let's have a look at what Mr. Trudeau, who still is kind of acting as Prime Minister, until they find another leader to
He
replace
does a lot of acting. Yeah.
Well, it continues here, and let's have a listen to what
I
he's
am
saying.
announcing Canada will be responding to the U.S. trade action with 25% tariffs against $155 billion worth of American goods.
Okay.
This will include immediate tariffs on $30 billion worth of goods as of Tuesday, followed by further tariffs on $125 billion worth of American products in 21 days' time to allow Canadian companies and supply chains to seek to find alternatives. Ce soir,
So the issue is 77% of Canada's exports go to the US. 84% of Mexico's exports go to the US. They're not going to win.
No,
They're not going to win this battle.
If I was Trump, no, I won't put it like that. Mate, Mr. Trump, because I know you watch this show all the time, my suggestion to you is that you should actually be a bit kinder to Canada and help them out and tell them, don't worry about tariffing us. You don't want our goods? Fine. I'm going to shut the border. No goods from America going to Canada. You want to play around? What was it, FAFO?
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's muck around, Canada.
But okay, things are going to change a lot in Canada in the next few months because let's face it, Trudeau's going. He's going to go visit, Daddy's family in Cuba, right? He's gone, right?
Or he could go hanging with Epstein because he knows too much.
Very, very likely. So, okay, there's going to be big changes politically in Canada. I mean, I can see the Conservative government in Canada getting along a lot better with Trump, let's face it, than Trudeau.
Of course.
Right.
So Pierre, what's his name? Pierre Polivet or whatever.
I just can't pronounce his name.
I've been watching his speeches and he's brilliant. He's going to be right up there with the Italian Prime Minister.
We're going to be the one country left with like surely if every other country can produce one, surely we can produce somebody.
No, we can't.
Well, okay, on the front of local politics. If we want to talk about Dutton, right? Let's talk about Dutton for a moment. The problem with Dutton is he is.
You're saying his name wrong. It's Lord Voldemort.
I knew you'd do that. I knew that. The problem is, he's got as much charisma as a rock. Okay, that's the problem.
He's still got more than Slimeball.
Oh, I don't know.
But, the problem with Australian politics is this, that the opposition is not presenting an opposition.
Spot on.
That's the whole issue. You're not giving the voting public a reason to actually back you. That's the problem they've got.
I do agree with you, but at the same time, let's be honest. If he was charismatic, people would vote for him, right? Now,
they had John Howard for 3 terms. He wasn't that charismatic.
And
they
he
were all
couldn't even bowl a cricket ball.
He was boring, right?
Dutton, I've met Dutton a number of times.
And he's a very nice guy.
Yeah, no, he's lovely, and he's way more charismatic in person. I don't get it. I don't actually understand why he comes across in the media the way he does, because he's actually... I actually quite like the bloke personally.
You've actually made my point. I don't know why, but you're right. On video, he comes across
that way. But the thing is, the Liberals, as you're rightly pointing out, what's the opposition? You do a poll about the disinformation bill, right? So what is it, like 85% of Australians or some crap? What was the number that we saw the other day? It was the overwhelming majority of Australians totally opposed the misinformation bill.
Yep.
So the Liberal Party looks at that information and goes, oh, well, wouldn't it be a really good idea if we go and support the bill that the Labor Party is putting forward?
Yeah.
And they did it in West Australia too. When they wanted mask mandates and all this sort of stuff going on, they came out and said, well, they're not doing enough. And it's like, are you for real? They went further. They doubled down. And this is the problem, is they're going too far left to try to appease. They need to go conservative. They need to
The world
swing back.
is rejecting the left, okay? Wake up. Wake up.
Where it gets really frustrating. So if you can't vote for the majors because they're the same thing, you go to the minor party. So Greens, whatever, the Nationals also were calling for mask mandates 6 months prior to the majors. So,
Really?
like,
Wow.
who have you got left over?
Joel Jamal shows that big graph, that sort of thing that he's
We
got
have
on.
it
Where is it?
Right.
in the
Now-
other room.
Now, when he first showed that to me, because he came over to my
I'm gonna have to
house
go get
and he brought it with him and he showed it to me, and I was looking at that and I was like, "There's no
This
way."
lays out the entire
and-
campaign.
and-
Explain the
just-
graph for those who don't know what
No, no,
graphs
I'll go
are.
get it.
what
go get it.
the graph did. What the graph does is it shows you the differences and the commonalities between all the parties, like what they vote for, etc. Well, Travis is getting it.
Travis, wrong room, mate. You'll go into the news office. Go on.
And so I actually asked him one time, I've been thinking about it for months, it was just on my mind. I was like, this can't be. So I said to him, I said, look, are you asking questions in such a way that you know that those are the things they have in common and the other ones don't, that sort of stuff?
Mhm.
And I sort of really looked through all the work he'd done and I was like, no, like that's totally legitimate. It's totally legitimate. Like there was only 3 or 4 things where the Labor and Liberal Nationals actually disagreed.
Crazy.
And I thought, well, like, well, what's the difference then?
Well, I hate when the opposition just disagrees for the sake of disagreeing, right? Because when it just becomes that negative from one side to the other. But
Well, I don't agree with that at all.
Okay.
No.
No,
you need to be. Why do you do that, Travis? Honestly. All right. I want to look at this map though before one of us gets cancelled, because this is and I do really appreciate Joel Jamal organising this. It's been fantastic. So
And our special guest in the studio today.
yeah, fantastic. Thank you, Quinton. Now there we go. That's coming across. Now that is going on the wall.
Just come back a bit.
That's not actually the thing I was talking about. But
Oh,
yes.
okay.
That's right.
I thought that's the one you were talking about.
But just to give Joel a plug, these are actually available. I don't know if they still are, but they're available from him.
From all good
I don't know.
bookshops.
I can't remember. But okay, so he's actually brought out he's got like this like thing, this poster thing, right? And it asks them questions like, do you oppose a mask mandate? I'm just making it up. I can't remember the questions are on there. And so the Liberal Party, no. The Labor Party, no. Nationals, no. And then all the other parties, yes. So like you see like all the questions they ask. And on the policy, the direct policy positions, the Libs and the Labor Party, or the Lib National Coalition and the Labor Party,
Sure.
they only had like 2 or 3 things where they were actually different from each other. They actually agreed on all the other stuff. And what was, I think, most eye-opening is that the very things that most of, well, I won't say most of us, but people like me who say, I just want government out of the way, I want to be left alone, stop infringing my rights, who do you think you are?
Yep.
When you actually look at those parties, they are both pretty much the same. And, most people are pretty unhappy with the way COVID was handled, especially in Sydney and Victoria. The mask mandates, the vaccine mandates, all that sort of stuff. The way the police handled protests, all of those sorts of things. But what you actually find is that the major parties, they agree with each other on how things should be handled.
Well, it's the old story about, there's the 2 wings on the same bird, right?
Yeah.
It's interesting. There's an article that's come out since we've got to bring in Australia. I was going to bring in it later, but we might as well since we're here. There was headlines today on news.com.au. Australia's move as Donald Trump launches trade war with new tariffs on Canada, Mexico, China. Australia is seeking talks with America as soon as is humanly possible after Donald Trump slapped new tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China. Now, this article is making out that basically Australian Trade Minister Don Farrell is wanting that chat to be planned, cool, calm, collected, as he's put it, wanting to have that audience with them and acting like they're really nervous about the whole situation.
Oh, come on.
I think what you got to realize here is that, look, I don't mind it if Australian politicians are sweating it a bit because of their relations with the US. I think that's probably a healthy thing. But we are not on the border of the United States, okay? We're not like Canada and Mexico, who are right there sharing that same fence. And I think that's the big issue that we've got to look at. However, having said that, as I think it was stated earlier, I think in one of our previous shows, that, look, Australians are going to basically, where's the US going, and then form their policy accordingly for strategic military reasons, not only for their own economy.
No question about that. Now, Travis, can I ask a bit of a favour here? Can you just bring up some of the questions and comments, just because I really do love when we've got the audience being,
There's a lot coming through on this show, which is
exactly
good.
right. So, as part of the conversation, I do want to sort of refer to people as they come through as much as we can.
Yeah. So Deploy on YouTube, I've been saying this, they are similar parties for ages, but At best, Libs wait 5 years before enacting Labor policies. So they're just waiting 5 years before they actually
Right,
go ahead
yeah.
with them.
Okay.
I'm yet to see a Labor policy that Liberals have retracted except the carbon tax.
Yeah, okay. All right.
So I'm
Yep.
sure there is some. I just don't know where they are.
The other comment about the fact that they don't work for us is a very, very good point. They don't represent the everyday Australian.
Yeah, they've just totally lost track of everything. And then we've got Josh McCurry, absolute legend, long-time listener. Hey, Josh. The issue I have with Joel's analysts is that it assumes that we want the Libs to get elected. Bah, humbug. They are WEF stooges as bad as Labor.
And I think, Josh makes a good point there. I think that's how a lot of people are seeing it right now, is that Labor and Liberal are really the same party no matter which one you vote.
A lot of people
Which Travis has been pointing out, what are the alternatives?
I've heard a great...
I just want to correct something there, just in defense of Joel, because obviously Joel's a friend of mine. I just want to say, Josh, just with your analysis there, Joel actually recommended in many of the electorates in Sydney that people voted for the Labor Party over the Liberal candidates because of the Liberal candidates' positions. So I don't think he's making that assumption, but many of the people that he gets on his show, such as myself, just want Labor gone. And whatever party you like say, a small party like Christian Family First or, One Nation or Shooters and Farmers and all the rest of it, they're not going to become the Prime Minister. They're not going to control government, right? So the only choice you've got essentially is the Labor Greens coalition or the coalition of the Libs and Nationals. So what choice do you have? But I'll leave it at that. But yeah,
I mean, here's a daring idea. How many of our voters actually go, let's say they want Liberal in or the coalition in, but they'll say, hey, I'll give my preferences to these minor parties who won't get in, and then give my second preferences to the ones I do want.
Well, that's what I do.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I've started doing. But what the thing with the Liberal Party, the reason I criticise them way more than Labor is, don't really care. Labor, I'm not going to. Well, I've never voted for them. I won't say I never will. Maybe I would one day. I just can't imagine why I would. But so, okay, I disagree with them, but that's fine. We already know I disagree with them. What really pisses me off is when the Liberals don't act in the way that I want them to or the way that most people want them to, and then we're stuck because we've got no one else to vote for. That's just taking the piss.
It is.
Right? And that's how the Teals lost. So that's how the Teals won all of those the blue ribbon seats in North Sydney and etc.
So one thing that I'd love to see is for people who do the donkey votes, like if you don't want to vote for any party at all, that's fine. Don't vote for them. But please do not go in there go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Oh, no.
Because you're voting for the number one seat. It's not that you don't care. You're just giving the money to them. In the 2018 election, it actually worked out to be something like 2% of the votes.
Is that right?
Yeah. So you're on average between 12 to 15% people don't give donkey vote or just don't rock up.
Sure.
So straight away you've lost 15%. But if you can pick up a full 2% and that's 4% swing just by being that number one position.
How do you feel about voting not being compulsory?
I love it. I think it should be that way because either you don't get a penis onto the ballot paper or they're just not going to rock up. So why waste everyone's time if you're not going to vote properly?
Well, if you don't want to show up, I don't think you should have to vote.
Yeah.
I think you should. I think you should because universal suffrage has been fought for so hard.
Right.
So you should vote, but you shouldn't be legally required to.
Yes, you should. I think that. But at the same time, I used to always be for compulsory voting because I want people to be involved in the process.
Yeah, but what I want, two different things. Why should what you want mean that I have to do it?
Well, hang on. Here's where I'm going on this. Is that, okay, over the years, now I'm starting to think, no, maybe it shouldn't be compulsory. Maybe I want only people who are engaged in the process, people who actually care, people who have done their research. I want them to vote. I don't want the idiots who go in there and draw stupid things on the pictures.
So
right? Okay,
your vote of I don't care should be a valid vote. And if you don't care, don't rock up.
Yeah.
But see, that's the other thing, right? If voter turnout's really low, then you know that people... Okay, let's take this recent election in the United States, right? Kamala Harris didn't get the turnout. That was the major thing. She didn't get the turnout in many of the demographics that she was expecting to get the turnout for. That says something. It means a lot of those people didn't want to vote for Donald Trump, but they weren't inspired by Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
But she's such an inspirational woman.
So here we should have the same thing. If Liberal Party people don't go out to vote for Dutton, but there's a low turnout, what that indicates is that they still don't like Albanese, but they just weren't inspired by him. Do you know what I'm saying?
Look, Albanese got in, what was it, 32% of the vote this time? 32, I think it was.
Yes, the country is not running the way that the 32% voted for.
So that means like 68% of the country didn't want him. Let's remember that.
I know, we
okay?
turned into New Zealand.
I don't. I mean, this is
Because remember, with Jacinta the first time, Jacinta
yeah.
Ardern, or Dame Ardern, she won the election with like 35% or something like that. And we were all sitting there going, how does that work? How does that happen? That could never happen in Australia.
we can do it.
Yeah, we can do it better.
Hold our beer.
Absolutely.
So we've got a couple of comments from Josh and Taz that we probably need to have a look at.
Okay.
Josh really gets into his politics. So I have an issue with the way the preferential voting. I think you should be able to mark your preferences as far as you want.
You can.
You can. What happens once let's say there's 8 people there, you only do 6. Your vote is valid until the 6th, and then it becomes informal.
Right.
So again, just understanding the system, how it works is really important. And this is the other crazy thing. They change it every year. So you've got to check the rules every year, which is annoying. But if they don't want a set candidate to get your vote, you shouldn't be forced to give it to one of them. So I'm assuming that's talking about the upper house where you can vote above the line or below the line.
Okay.
So in the let's say you vote below the line. So let's say you've got candidate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for a party. You don't like say candidate number 2. So you can go 1, skip number 2, and go 2, 3, 4 for the rest. So that number 2 candidate won't get your vote. But if you vote above the line, just put the 1 in the party will decide which order the votes go down.
Yeah.
So,
okay, fantastic. A lot of things we want to cover today, so I want to jump back to that.
I want to get back to Trump's.
sorry, just quickly to Josh, that's been around for about 2017, the first federal election I run. It's been that way since then. So as long as you've got a clear 1, not a crosses or ticks, a clear 1, it is valid until there's nowhere to put your preferences. Then it becomes informal.
Okay. The other change that I would actually like to see is that the cabinet positions are directly voted by the public instead of nominated by the government.
Wow.
Because it would cause government not to be a cohesive group, right? Like you look at the United States, the executive don't sit in the House of Reps or the Senate, right? They leave that in order to take cabinet positions. So the executive sits outside the legislature.
Right.
Here, the executive branch of government is also sitting in the House of Representatives, usually, or sometimes in the Senate, but usually the House of Reps. So instead of doing that, if you separated them out from the House of Representatives, it changes things dramatically because then it's a check on that branch of government.
Right.
And what I would say differently to the US is rather than letting the president or the prime minister nominate who they want, let the people vote.
Yeah. Yeah. But again, Australians don't do their research on the candidates.
So it can't be any worse than what we got now.
No. Yeah. No.
Let's have a look at Trump's response to Canada, if we could, in the next slide here. It's interesting, his response and how he plays this game.
Okay.
So he wrote here on True Social, we pay hundreds of billions of dollars to subsidize Canada. Why? There is no reason. We don't need anything they have. We have unlimited energy, should make our own cars, and have more lumber than we can ever use. Without this massive subsidy, Canada ceases to exist as a viable country. Harsh, but true. Therefore, Canada should become our cherished 53rd state, much lower taxes and far better military protection for the people of Canada, and no tariffs. He's pushing the point there.
Well, he is. And and let's think about the strategic advantage to getting Canada as well. I suppose they've got Alaska anyway. So
they bought that off the Russians back in the day. Florida was bought off the Spanish.
Yep.
Well, he can buy Canada off the Chinese.
Sorry?
Yeah.
He can buy Canada and Australia off the
I was going to say
Chinese.
buy it off Cuba, but yeah. Hey.
Oh, man. Okay. Well, strategy 101, right? Let's face it.
Just buy everything. Print more money and buy it all.
Hey, on that front, okay.
Does inflation matter when you own everything?
No, he doesn't. But on that front, okay, what about national debts, right? Okay, what's to stop a country, especially a country like America, that has all that military power, just going, guess what? We don't have a debt anymore. What's to stop that?
The rest of the world.
Why?
No, that would destroy the economy because all the investment would rush out of that country.
Right, that's what I'm asking the question. Okay, I'm not asking just to be facetious. I'm wondering about that. Like, you know,
So what ends up happening is that the country that is importing won't be able to import anything because their currency won't be worth anything.
Right. Okay.
When they export stuff, the money can be prevented from getting into that country because they owe debts to other countries.
Right.
And this is where some of these vulture funds, something that I would never do, never be involved in.
Right.
And I won't name some of the high-profile people that are involved in some of this stuff. What they would do is they'd go in and they'd buy up the debt for pennies on the dollar for emerging countries that are struggling.
Yep.
And then what they would do is charity money was being given to the country to feed the poor people. They would come in and take the money.
We've seen this.
Right. So, yeah, it'd be bad. Like, it's not a positive thing at all.
Right.
And especially if it happened to a superpower. So if it was the UK, the US, Canada and Australia, though we're not anywhere near their size, but if any of us did that, it would be so destabilizing, but especially if it was the US.
Okay.
So-
There you go. All right.
Well, there's a simple comparison for that one: Ukraine and Russia. Like, have a look at what happened once Russia invaded Ukraine. And that was a minor
level.
that was a minor disturbance when you have a look at it. Let's say America turn around and say, all right, we're going to take over the world or whatever. Have a look at the disruption that's going to happen.
Yeah.
So
look at the economy of Russia, right? Forget about the Ukraine war. Let's go before that.
Okay.
Look at the economy of Russia. Now, they defaulted, let's say, back in the early 2000s, the late 90s, whatever it was. But what they said was the USSR was the one that borrowed this money. We're Russia.
Anymore.
We're not the USSR. USSR broke up. Take it up with them.
Yeah.
But that left the rest of the world going, okay. So they really have had a fairly, well, they haven't had the sort of economic success as, say, other former USSR countries have, comparative, per capita and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, pretty bad idea.
Oh, there you go.
Let's have a look at what Trump's coming out with. He's looking at even more tariffs, and he brings up an interesting industry. Just, you got to listen close to this one, what he's talking about.
In addition to that, and you see the power of the tariff. I mean, the tariff is good, and nobody can compete with us because we have by far the biggest piggy bank. And so that'll take place very quickly. But also we'll be doing pharmaceuticals. And to bring our industry back, we want to bring pharmaceuticals back to the country. And the way you bring it back to the country is by putting up a wall, and the wall is a tariff wall. We were the richest country in the world. We were at our richest from 1870 to 1913. That's when we were a tariff country.
There you go, pharmaceuticals. He's wanting to put in pharmaceuticals in his own borders. And make America healthy again through that process. So that's really, really interesting. We'll get to this one in just a moment. But
I've been talking about that the last handful of years.
Sorry?
I've been talking about that last handful of years about penicillin and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. So there you go. Trump wants to put tariffs on medications. And this, of course, was really, really interesting when you compare this to Congress looking at the going through the Robert Kennedy Jr. I don't know if you saw some of the footage where they were interviewing him or scrutinizing him, basically.
It was almost hilarious. Actually.
Yeah, it was great fun to watch how they were in a panic, and then it came out how much they'd all been paid to from the pharmaceuticals over the last few years.
In fact, if you go to the Edge Radio Australia Facebook page, we actually have a post that lists all the top, or basically the amounts that were donated from Big Pharma and who actually received them. And guess what? Geez, there seems to be a pattern. It's Democrat, 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 Democrat. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, look, to be fair, Republicans get lobbied money as well. But
no question about
it.
But
I want to say this, though. If you think about cigarettes or tobacco, like all the other stuff that we've said, right? The reason why media was always kind of a bit left was that they were always fighting, or at least appeared to be fighting for the little guy, right? Which was that when big corporations were abusing the populace, when big government was taking money from the populace, you have these fantastic investigative reports. And, a lot of people in media were kind of against big corporations doing, what they're doing to little people.
It was the case, wasn't it?
Now, Democrats are like going for the big corporations, and it's Republicans saying, hang on a minute, we want sugar out of our food. We want the big corporations to tell us what they're putting in our food, what they're feeding our kids. Yeah, and the Democrats are like, well, we're fighting for the little guy. Look at how many big celebrities and CEOs of Fortune 500 companies are backing us. Huh?
I know.
I don't get it.
It blows you mind. I mean, hypocrisy is basically what the left is running on.
But then you've got to apply that here to Australia as well. Look at how many of the big Australian companies flooded behind the Labor Party. Why? See, if you said that 20 years ago, people would be like, why would the big corporations and big business want to support Labor?
I know.
They would want to support the business-friendly Liberal Party.
But it has flipped now. It absolutely has flipped.
So what's Labor going to do? We are working for the big company that we're going to fight for you against. Like,
Yeah,
what?
no, makes no sense at all. None whatsoever. I see, Travis, you're having a great little run there looking for different.
I was looking for
things.
that post. I couldn't find it. It's
Okay.
like it's buried underneath all the other posts that
We
you put
post a
out.
lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of comments here. Let's have a look at some of what our audience are saying on this, because I'd like to get their feedback in response to this this latest video.
All right. So from Damo, the amount of drugs and human trafficking coming from Mexico, I would tariff too.
Yep,
Absolutely.
I agree.
I personally, I'd like to see the pharmaceuticals actually manufactured in the country where they're being used. So
Well,
that's just me personally. I like to see that. He's not making America healthy again, or he wouldn't have pardoned Ulbricht. How you say that?
yeah, look, I'm not
Oh,
sure
right.
on that one because I don't know all the details. But yeah, a lot of people are up in arms about that, and I'd love to hear more of your thoughts there, Taz. Because
So she did put a comment earlier. I was going to come back to it.
Okay.
And where's the first one? Give me a moment.
All good. there you
Trump pardoning. Here it is. Pardoning Ross scares me for not just America but globally, to be honest.
go. Okay.
So Taz has got a few concerns
Well,
about
look,
that guy.
Look, you may not agree with all of Trump's pardons. That doesn't mean that his overall policy and what RFK Jr. especially is trying to achieve with making America
Yes.
healthy again is, it's not going to happen because he's pardoned somebody you don't like.
Mhm.
And, I'm not going to say what aboutism, but to be fair, Joe Biden gave preemptive pardons to a whole heap of people. So what
Did he?
Oh yeah.
Was he competent enough to
Yeah,
actually
well,
sign that?
yeah,
That's what I'm
exactly.
asking. Did he really?
But what does that spell for the future of the United States when the United States isn't even able to investigate to see whether money has corrupted the system?
Oh well, here's the good
But
thing. Guess
he
what I
didn't
found? out?
pardon himself.
It doesn't even matter. The fact of the matter is, now if there's an investigation, they can't plead the fifth. That's the difference. So although they won't be prosecuted, the truth can come out.
So
this is what I hear. Anyway,
Well, see, I'm not sure. I know a lot of people on the right are saying that, especially on Fox.
Mm.
And I'm not a lawyer, but wouldn't you make a subject matter jurisdiction argument on that?
Oh, I wouldn't know.
Because
I'm not a lawyer.
if you were pulled into, say, a congressional inquiry or whatever,
Sure.
right? So you have to take an oath. Again, I just don't know here. Does the United States have the ability to immunize you against charges in another country? So if the allegation is that you committed crimes by taking money from the Chinese or the Ukrainians,
Sure.
for example, well, you could be prosecuted over there,
Mhm.
right?
no jurisdiction.
So, yeah, they don't have the ability to immunize you outside of their own jurisdiction. So maybe you could just sit there and say, look, I'm sorry, I'm still pleading the fifth.
Well, is this why?
Well, the other
Yeah,
thing
okay.
is that you subpoena somebody to question them, and they say, I'm pleading the fifth, and you say, well, you're immunized, and you say, what am I immunized on? I don't know. I reckon they'll probably get away with this.
I don't know. Look, okay. Let's look at Fauci. Fauci now they're talking about the fact that Russia might look at extraditing him. Right?
I still haven't
Now-
been able to find out if that's a legit
I
story
don't know.
or not.
You know what? I'm seeing it.
It'd be
in so many-
great if it was.
Yeah, I'm seeing it in a lot of different places.
Mm.
Funny enough, Fox being one of them,
Yeah.
obviously. And I don't know. I know if that's the case, I think there's a bit of power in that. Now, I think there's another video we need to have.
We want to look at what Russia is actually saying, and this is
Yeah.
a fascinating little interview piece in the back of a car. Let's have a listen to what Putin has said. Of course, it's in subtitles.
All right, just let me get the
Now, with the
chats out of the
subtitles,
way.
might be interesting on the radio, but we'll give it a go.
Has something changed since Biden's time? Nothing has
No, you got to play the
changed.
video.
Just-
Да ничего не изменилось.
So I'm just reading the translations for people. They were happy to carry out, this is Putin talking, they're happy to carry out any order from Washington under Biden.
И с удовольствием выполняли любой приказ со стороны Вашингтона при Байдене. Просто им
They just don't like Trump. They fought him actively, really interfered in political life, in the election process in the
Трамп
United
не нравится, они
States.
с ним боролись активно, да?
That's a
Реально
nice car. Is
вмешивались
that a
в
Maybach?
политическую жизнь и предвыборный процесс в Соединенных Штатах, а потом растеряли.
And when they were confused, what? And
And then
when
they
they were confused when Trump suddenly
Just got
won. Just on that one, it was really interesting having a look at the raw voting. The Trump's vote never changed, but the Democrats' vote dropped drastically.
right?
Yeah.
Трамп вдруг выиграл. И
And then they mentally liked Biden more, mentally.
потом Байден ментально им больше нравился, понимаете, ментально. А у Трампа
But Trump has different ideas about what is good, what is bad, including in gender policy. In some other issues, they kind of don't like it.
другие представления о том, что такое хорошо, что такое плохо, в том числе в этой гендерной политике, в некоторых других вопросах. Им как бы не нравится это. Но я
But I assure you, Trump, with his character persistence, he will restore order pretty quickly.
вас уверяю,
What a
Трамп с
comment.
его характером, с его настойчивостью, он наведет там порядок довольно быстро. И все
And all of them, you'll see, it will happen quickly soon. All of them will stand at their master's feet and gently wag their tails. Wow, what a comment.
быстро, скоро все они станут у ноги хозяина и будут нежно помахивать хвостиком.
I think it's fascinating to see that one. There's again, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think Putin admires Trump. I think
about to say the
I think
exact
there's
same
an
thing.
admiration right there, because Trump, you remember in his first term, didn't come out criticizing Putin. People were trying to make Russia look the bad guy, and he's going, "What will be your response when you're president?" He's like, "I've never met the man." So he's kind of. It was a smart play on his move, and I think he's always respected that. The second part of that is, I love the comment of the tails will be wagging behind them. Is he referring to the European Union there?
Ooh.
It's going to be really interesting to see how the EU relates to Trump in this matter. He's already kind of blasted them at the World Economic Forum with his big speech and live cross there, telling them what's what, telling them what we are doing and how it's all fantastic, leaving them devastated. And there was actually footage of them saying, we got to, in their discussion panels, we've got to admit it. Trump won, which means we lost.
Yeah.
It's an amazing admission by the World Economic Forum.
So true on that.
So we've got a few comments coming through with this one. So we've got Josh here. The US pardon doesn't protect Fauci from being tried for crimes against humanity at the ICC. Just saying.
Yep.
The Democratic vote dropped because they can't hide enough cheating without the pandemic and the postal votes.
No, but her vote count actually dropped below previous. So 2020 was either an absolute rigged scam or it was just an anomaly, depending on who you listen to. But
and then you,
the Biden
if you
guy,
have
he
a
was the
look
most
at
popular president around. He got the most votes ever.
yeah,
Of course,
and
absolutely.
Donald Trump was the most popular loser too by that metric. But if you actually have a look, Donald Trump's votes have been pretty much the same. It's been pretty close. There was that big jump up in Biden's vote, but even if you look prior, the votes are about they sort of sit there pretty steadily for both sides. So, but her vote is actually lower than what, if you forget about 2020, is actually lower than the others as well.
there was on, it wasn't Fox News, it was one of the less media's, NBC. They did a tally on what states Camilla's actually done better than Biden. CNN, was it? Yeah. And there was nothing.
Jake Tapper mustn't have known, because when he came out and said, show me if there's any, show me what counties, it wasn't states.
Yeah.
Show me what counties she's had an increase in the vote since 2020 by 2% or 3%, what it was. And the sort of screen came up and he's like, hang on. And they're like trying to move something off the screen. And he's like, nothing, like absolutely, but not one.
Yes.
Not one.
Embarrassing. So embarrassing.
So I've got a theory on this one. A total theory, no evidence, no proof. So this is probably false information. So there's a falling out when Biden got kicked out between Jill Biden and the Democrats.
Of course.
So my theory is Jill Biden's the one that actually that organized all the rigging. They've turned around, oh, we need you to rig this one as well. She's like, no, get fucked. Get stuffed. And so what's happened, they didn't get all the rigging done through the Biden family because they were nasty on the Democrats.
I don't know. So there's a lot to be said about that. And I think Jill Biden had far more to do with these elections than,
she's running the show.
She showed up in a red dress to vote or something like that.
That was impressive, wasn't it?
That sent a pretty big message.
Statement 101.
But just on that rigging thing, look, I don't know if yet there's any evidence that's been brought up. Let me finish. There's any evidence that's been brought up that shows that there was fictitious votes cast. What my major concern is that the system, even if you're one of those people that doesn't think that it was rigged as such, the one thing you got to concede is that they changed the electoral rules. So Pennsylvania, for example, the judiciary changed the rules that they had no right to do that. That's up to the legislature. So I think the Democrats gamed the system, and I think that there should be an inquiry, as Ted Cruz talked about. And those massive vote dumps that came in, one of the things that I'm concerned about is it not that those votes weren't real, but that real Republican votes were never delivered? Is that what happened? Do you know what I mean? Because
there was a lot of Democrats who were voting at 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning, right?
Exactly, and there was some report. I'm sort of going from memory here. There was some report that one of the vote dumps came in 300,000 votes for Biden, 0 votes for Trump.
Yeah,
Yep.
Like that doesn't happen. Like we know that that's not mathematically possible. No matter how you slice and dice society, you're never going to find a demographic of 300 to 0, 300,000 to 0.
Correct.
Yep.
So
from Deploy, advertising inevitably
corrupts the media. A good start would be to ban farmer adverts like Australia.
Yeah, great point. Absolutely great point. But also to remember this during the pandemic that you got 2 years tax free from a media outlet. So you did not pay tax for 2 years if you ran the campaigns for the government.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
So
it's utter corruption. As
That's
far
true.
As I'm concerned.
That's true.
So Taz getting in on the voting thing. It's in the subject of voting from before. I think it should be mandatory. The current population of US is 34.9 million.
I think she means 349 million.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
that's the point.
Apparently 90 million didn't vote. So
No, that's never going to happen.
Oh, no, well, hang on, in America,
the United States, it's you can't force people to do
Yeah,
that.
well, hang on,
They have that freedom.
there's about 150 odd million votes, roughly,
Yeah.
off the top of my head, and of course, and there's about 360 million there. So yeah, a lot of people don't vote full stop.
No, but there's only about 250 million eligible voters. Right?
Gotcha. Yeah.
So
Yep.
don't forget, there's a lot of people that are there that aren't citizens.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
and also, so 90 million out of 334.9 million is a huge number of votes. I like the mandatory here. Also, I prefer PP drawings over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, especially if you just don't care what your vote's going to be, don't put your numbers down because that you are casting a vote
still voting.
and it can actually cause a lot of problems.
Yep.
But I want to ask Taz there. So
That's a
if
spam.
I don't want to vote, if I've said I don't want to vote, I don't want to go down there, they don't even bloody give me a sausage sizzle anymore.
No.
The place I go to, so I don't want to go. No sausage sizzle, I'm not going. Well, so government is then going to say, right, well, you didn't go. We're forcing you to go. Well, I'm not going. Okay, here's the fine. Well, what did that achieve? I'll pay the $20.
Is it $20? I think it's like $100, surely by now.
Well, the last fine I got for not voting was only 20.
Yeah, well, that was
But-
also 1942. Dude.
But the thing was, the only reason why I didn't vote was I wasn't here.
Yeah.
I wasn't here. Like I'd moved. I'd moved to a different state. I got to vote. I was like, hey, I don't live there anymore.
Yeah. So you just pay the fine and get on.
No. They retracted the fine.
Oh,
but
okay.
the point being, though, like, what's the point? What's the point of that exercise?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And for
Well-
some people, like, I'll just pay the $100 or whatever it is. Like, some people don't want to vote. They don't vote.
Is to basically push people, especially those who are lower economic sort of situation, to go and vote because they haven't got the money to spend on the fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to
So
force you to do
We're gonna
something
force
against
you,
your will.
and that helps obviously the Labor Party in this country. That's
Yeah.
a fact. Now, have we got any more videos, mate, to watch?
No,
Yes,
we've-
we've got a few spammers coming through. I was just
Okay.
getting rid of them.
No worries. Keep it up to that.
What else? We got
So
heaps
many
of
good
comments
points.
coming through. Are we done with the videos? Yep.
Yep.
So with Josh here, we have if voting wasn't compulsory in Australia, the Greens wouldn't have a seat and Labor would lose a heap of seats. Because I think half the Greens voters would be too stoned to actually rock up.
No, but you know what? It's mums and Karens and whatever who are voting for the Greens these days. That's the bloody problem.
There's a good media supercut of them calling out fraudulent foreign elections, pointing out voting graphs with straight lines being a red flag for voting fraud from Deploy on the YouTube, which is awesome.
And I think people should remember that Democrats were complaining about mail-in voting until the 2020 election. I also think that people should remember if you believe that the vaccines should absolutely have been trusted,
Yes.
right, and you're on the left, right, please explain to me why it was okay for the Democrats, including Biden, especially including Kamala Harris, who said that she will not take a vaccine developed under Donald Trump. So why is it so wrong for people on the so-called right or the anti-vaxxers to say, I'm not going to take a vaccine that the left wants me to, or that Biden wants me to have? Why is that not okay? Like, hold yourself to your same standard.
Shaq, my body, my choice. Come on. Jeez.
So, and again, Deploy on YouTube. Tell them you voted, Shaq. You really think they're going to CSI if you went down? Off you went down?
Oh dear.
Well, see, but this is the thing. I'll give you an example. I didn't vote in the no campaign or the voice referendum.
Right.
But the reason I didn't vote in the campaign was because I went to New Zealand,
Mhm.
and they said that you go and vote at the embassy.
Right.
Well, the embassy was closed. So I was like, what are we supposed to do?
And we needed your vote, mate. We really did. Jeez.
Yeah, that's why Kurt voted yes. It was because of me.
Yeah.
So, Netherlands again.
Something I found really interesting. You know which polling booth had the highest votes during the last federal election?
No idea.
London.
What?
Yeah, 38,000 people voted in London.
Right. Okay. All in Earl's Court, or
No, because all the expats still have to vote in Australia,
Sure.
so they set up a polling booth in London.
They don't have to.
Well, they've got one,
Yeah.
and that's 38,000 people
You're
voted.
allowed to vote. You can vote, but you don't have to vote.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the
All right.
polling booth in London was the most number of votes out of all the polling booths across Australia.
Now,
That's
as
not even
usual,
here.
we have gone massively over time. Got a couple of quick comments, just if you can bring those up, that'd be brilliant, mate. But I do actually want to throw to Derek for some last thoughts, basically, for today.
Well, the world are on their tippy toes,
Yep.
wondering how they're going to respond to this and how they're going to solve it. As I said before, Trump is making it hurt in the back pocket and going, listen, if you don't change your policies, we didn't get into the discussion on how this affects China, but it's going to just sort of, he's throwing his weight around as far as I am the US president and I know it. And I think it really is taking back his power for the country, for the people. And the world is trying to figure out, well, what do we do from here? They're not used to dealing with businessmen. They used to dealing with some diplomat.
That's right.
And he is not interested in being a career politician.
No. Well, it's a hell of a pay cut, let's face it, right? All right, thanks
And you've
very
got to
much for
remember,
that.
he's in his 80s, so
Is he?
Not
Is he
yet,
there
he's
now?
not.
Almost.
or at the end of his term, he'll be in his 80s.
At the end of
So-
his term, he'll be younger than what Biden was.
Really? There you go. Okay.
So
Yep. All right. Well, that is the end of the show. Thank you very much for being part of it. Thank you, everybody who's put those great messages. My word, there's a lot there. And maybe we'll have a look through there later and maybe discuss some
Hang
of
on.
those issues next week.
before they run, I want to modify some algos.
Oh,
So
yeah.
everyone watching, if you can just check the thumbs and thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever, the logos, you know, the things that are like part of a relationship. Yeah, hey, fall in love. Oh my God, that's so cool. I care for you. Oh, hate.
Oh, yeah. Great. Throw
Yeah.
those in, absolutely.
Yeah.
And like and share and do all the YouTubey things that you're supposed
Yep.
to. Subscribe, all of that.
Yep.
Wonderful stuff.
Now, if you do also, just wait. And if you do need to get some education about living your life purpose, you know, learning how to do options trading and all the other stuff and the new crypto course they got at the moment too, Derek, blueskyfactory.com.au. There's no E in blue because Derek did a typo. I don't know if that's true or not. But yeah, blueskyfactory.com.au for all your courses.
And
Fantastic.
before we do let the audience go, I promise to do a little striptease when you gave me my birthday present.
Oh, we're switching over to
geez,
OnlyFans.
yes. Yeah, we are so going over time. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Now.
Hey,
Yeah, I've got your
Sorry,
birthday
Derek.
present here.
Derek,
Hang on.
you don't
All right,
lose your
now-
PG rating.
And
We haven't seen the fella for a year.
and
So,
Taz, this is totally not the same singlet I was wearing the other day.
okay. So there we go. We'll hold it up. I don't know how well you can see it from there, but it's one of our shirts. It's got a little bit of a difference on there. And of course, the main thing is, of course, freedom of speech matters, which is written on there. If you would like one of these t-shirts, now that's a one-off because it's got I love Shak on there. But if you want one that doesn't say that, it's got freedom of speech matters and normal ones, you can of course contact us through the website and purchase one and look $1 million out there in the world. But right,
Can we provide them also with the option of getting the I Love Shaq shirt? I think that
Okay.
would be the high size.
limited edition right now. Okay. I was going to say for an extra $5, no, take $5 off. No,
The print run is paid for by Shaq.
Oh, no.
Oh,
Here we
Ah,
go.
take it off, big boy. Oh.
Now we get all the thumbs down.
That's right. Now we'll get lots of emojis.
This
That's
is
for
where
sure.
we
right?
need to put in,
Shaq, this is not telethon, okay?
This is where we
Thank you very much.
was it the beds are burning by Midnight Oil needs to be played now.
Absolutely. Right. It looks good on you. Look at that. We do love Shaq.
It looks like a wetsuit.
I don't know how skinny you thought I was.
Oh,
but,
mate, I was giving you a compliment when I ordered it. Maybe it was a year ago. Things have changed.
well, that's right. I was only 40 then. I've turned 41 since.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's the inches around the guts.
Oh dear! Thank you all for being part of it. I really, really love the interaction. It is fantastic, and as I say, if you can help share the message, that would be wonderful. We're obviously associated with many other groups which do fantastic work, so please support all those other freedom fighters out there. On Friday, we are having a pitch and pizza here, which is going to be a bit of a sundowner. So if you want to come along and buy a ticket, come along. We've got have a few drinks, have some nice food, have a bit of a laugh, and maybe pitch your business, maybe pitch your radio show, whatever.
Is that the one that's sponsored by Wealth by Design?
Spot on, mate.
Jeff down at Wealth by Design. So wealthbydesign.com.au.
I can't remember if there's no U, but there we go.
Just Google Wealth by Design, it comes up.
Or go to our website and hit the link, mate. Simple as that. There we go. Very easy with that. That is the end of the show. We're only 15 minutes over with nothing. So I hope you've enjoyed it. This has been, of course, The Greater Wealth with that man over there, this collection of lunatics on Edge Radio.